Welcome to Situation Today with Gulf Business. In our podcast, we talk about things that matter with people who are driving this change. Today, we have with us in our studio Dr. Saeeda Jaffar, who is the Senior Vice President and Group Country Manager GCC of Visa. Visa is doing some great work, some very innovative work, and she is giving us the lowdown on it. Thank you for talking to us, Dr. Saeeda.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
And you have some breaking news for us, if I may so use that news term. Could you tell us what Visa is bringing to the market today or actually very soon?
Absolutely. Look, Visa is very, very, very deeply committed to innovation. And we love innovating in places that are innovative, such as this part of the world. We are so excited because we are getting ready to roll out. We are actually in the middle of rolling out, for the first time ever on a country basis, an installment product. And what this is, it's really simple, really cool, really clean. You, as a consumer, go and you want to purchase something. You can either swipe your card, tap your card. Traditionally, what happens when you do that, it goes, and then a couple of seconds later, you're done. With this new solution, what will happen is you will, at the point of sale, not before, not after, at the point of sale, you will be given a choice as a consumer to say, I'd like to go by the traditional way, or I would like to purchase something on installments. And if I want to purchase this on installments, this is how much it'll cost. So for example, if I want to buy a TV and it costs 10,000 dirhams, just making up a number, I could pay for it right now on my regular way, or I could pay it over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And if I choose to do that, how much will it cost? And that is super exciting because it's a completely new way of giving a consumer a choice to be able to do whatever they want to do in a very responsible manner. And it doesn't involve me as a consumer having to do anything extra. It just happens on a Visa credential.
You used the word responsible, and for me, I'm also seeing some transparency here. So is that a feature of this new installment?
100%. So for us, transparency, predictability, just completely being open with what's happening is critical. It is a very responsible solution because what it does is it builds on what a consumer already has. It's very, very much available to a consumer, but in a very responsible manner within the bounds of what is allowed. It doesn't force or push anything new that is unforeseen.
Okay. And obviously, GCC is a hugely international market. You have 140 plus nationalities who live and work here, and they're transacting every day. A lot of them are doing it digitally. So how is Visa making these transactions secure?
That's a good point. And this is something that is incredibly important to us. Safety, security. So while innovation is one side of our brand, if you look at it, the other side is this promise of safety and security. And as you said, it's very challenging because you have people from so many different nationalities that both transit through the GCC as well as call the GCC their home. And for all of these people, their expectation is no matter where I come from, what I do, when I take my Visa credential, whether I swipe, whether I tap, whatever I do, within a couple of seconds, bam, it works every single time. And not only does it works in a way that is safe and secure. So this is something that is incredibly important. And this is something we've been working on since the beginning of our journey in digital payments. Every time there is a transaction, we look at it in a lot of depth and we make sure that we assess it and we try to provide the safest and the most secure experience possible to the users as well as to the entire ecosystem.
Everybody's talking about AI.
Yes.
And when with great power comes great responsibility. And how is Visa using AI, as a secure model as well as a potential threat, right? Because with new technology comes great opportunity to exploit it.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI is not something new to us at Visa. AI is something that is deeply embedded. In fact, we celebrated our 30th anniversary of using AI last year. So last year, we had been using AI for 30 years in the business. It is deeply embedded in a lot of the security risk fraud models that we use. So just to give you an example of what we talked about, whether you tap or you swipe, when that happens, we pull up to about 500 different parameters of that transaction. And based on that, we use our models and we create the ecosystem behind it to understand whether this transaction is a real transaction, a good transaction or not. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into this. And I mean, we've invested upwards of $10 billion over the last 5 years in safety, security, and integrity of maintaining our ecosystem.
When you were answering that question, I could see the engineer in you be really excited and passionate about what Visa is doing in terms of, secure transactions. And I want to understand your personal journey. That I know that you sort of studied the STEM subjects, but you're doing finance now. So how did that happen?
Look, it's very much a matter of following your passion and of doing what you genuinely enjoy. So I grew up, and as a kid, I've always enjoyed STEM. It's not something that someone pushed me to or something I had to do. I loved it. I grew up in an environment where I was surrounded by people who loved STEM, so that could have had something to do with it. But from a very early age, I loved math, I loved science, and I just kept on learning and, just growing in math and growing in science. When it was time for university, I chose to be an engineer, and I'm educational. My educational background is, as you said, I'm an engineer. Again, because I love the rigor, I love the structure, I love the way you look at problems and the way you approach problems. So I went through and absolutely loved that. And when it was time to go into the workforce, I looked at many different things, and what appealed again most from that structured thinking way was, at that time, a career in consulting. So I spent many years in consulting, and then for the last 3 years I've been at Visa. And again, it's just been very much around following your passion, and my passion happens to be in STEM, in finance, in science, always has been, and this is where the journey has led me.
So, because you were a woman in finance, I mean, that's a phrase that we all use a lot now because of the absolute lack of women at top leadership. How has Visa supported you in, being and leading the GCC region?
Sure. So I think we are very, very blessed to be living in times where there is a lot of focus on equity and on making sure the best candidates are the candidates that do the job. And if you look at what the region and what the country is doing and what the leadership of the country is doing, there is a tremendous push to, again, make sure it's the best candidate. And whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, it's the best candidate. And over the last few years, there has been a very big shift and a very big change. And you see some tremendous role models now that are women and leaders in different industries, including finance and others. So I think that's the biggest part. That's a very big part, which is we're in a great time and in a great place. Visa is an organization that is deeply, deeply committed to women and to diversity. It's something we hold very near and dear to our heart. In fact, we were very recently awarded a parent-friendly label from the government, and I had the honor of and the privilege of meeting with our president, who awarded us that honor. And it's something that's dear to us, and it's always been an integral part of who we are and what we do. So I don't think the question is, what does Visa do? I think the question is, what doesn't Visa do? And I would be hard-pressed to answer that question.
Okay, wow. So when you talk about diversity, it's about inclusion, right? And the society around us is moving towards financial inclusion thanks to the digitalization of services, but there's more to be done. And Visa recently came out with a report that focuses on small businesses and financial inclusion and how that has changed their businesses for the better. So could you give us some highlights from that report?
Sure, absolutely. Again, this is a topic that has been very, very top of mind for us. And I think the starkest representation of this was back during the days of the pandemic. So in the very early days of the pandemic, it became very clear to not only us, but I think to many, that businesses that were digital, that accepted digital payments, that were able to participate in e-commerce, did much better than businesses that had a purely physical or non-digital footprint. Again, this is not us saying it. There was a lot of anecdotal as well as actual, like proper research that was done that showed this. So back in the day, in the 2020, our chairman at the time made a very public pledge, and they said that over the next 3 years, we as Visa will work on enabling 50 million small, medium enterprises and bringing them into the digital ecosystem so that they are able to participate in this, so that they are able to withstand any such future shocks, and also to be a part of the larger economy. Now, again, this is something over the last 3 years we've gone on this journey, and last year we not only meet that number, we actually landed at 67 million. So it's something we are very, very proud of. And it's something we hope to continue to do. The research that you're talking about, that is something we did very recently. And again, exactly the same sentiment was reflected in that. 70% of the businesses said that if they accepted digital payments and they were part of the digital e-commerce world, they saw better sales, they saw better footfall, right? That's just the basis. On top of that, there were many other advantages of being a part of this ecosystem. It allowed them to get to know the customers better. It allowed them to understand the customers' behaviors better. It allowed them to be able to interact with them and give them better loyalty and better customer experience, right? So all of these other things that come with it. But fundamentally, it is something that helps them become better, more profitable businesses because they're able to better service their customers, and they're able to deliver to their customers the way they interact with the customers, the way the customers choose to.
Okay, and what other fintech trends are you noticing? Because as we move towards digitalization, it's all about technology being embedded in finance. So could you tell us what trends that you're tracking or mapping?
Sure. Look, I think this is a very active and a very evolving space, and we see many, many things happening. So, and it usually you see a bunch of things. They come in waves, and it starts, and then it takes time for it to mature a little. So, we've seen a phenomenal surge in BNPL, so buy now, pay later, and I think you see a couple of very strong players in that space, and a couple of our very great partners in that space. We've seen some really good, strong players come up in open banking. Right? So that is something that is well on its way. We're seeing, we saw a lot in crypto a while ago. I think that calmed down, but now things seem to be picking up again. So I think that's a space to watch. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Of course, generative AI is very, very top of mind for many. So that is something I expect we will continue to see a lot of as we go forward. And then probably, interestingly, I also see a shift, not only a focus on consumer, but also on businesses. So a lot of B2B payments, a lot of B2B solutions, business-to-business solutions. So these are probably some of the areas, some of the spaces that we see in
Okay,
fintech.
interesting. We'll keep tracking you to see what you guys are doing. GCC is also known for tourism travel. A lot of people
Yes.
are flying in, a lot of people are flying out. And I know Visa's doing something very interesting in that. So could you give us details about it?
Travel tourism is something that is the cornerstone of our economy. And it is something that, frankly, we see continuing and we see growing as we go forward. And we want to do many things in this space. We are doing many things in this space. I think the most important part is we want to make sure that for our cardholders, we are what they need when they travel. And that starts from before they travel. That starts from at the point of even thinking we want to be there with them. When they're purchasing the ticket, we want to be there with them. When they're going on the journey, we want to be with them. When they're at the destination, we want to be with them. And when they're going back home, we want to be with them, right? And that sounds really, really good, but what does it mean? What does it actually mean? What it means is when I'm dreaming, when I'm thinking, we want to make sure that we provide our customers with some of the best options. So if you're a Visa card holder, a couple of things can happen, right? You will have access to some incredible options, to some incredible opportunities that you may not have access to otherwise, some offers, some benefits. So go some places different, experience things that may not be possible. At the same time, if you're a customer that prefers a particular airline or prefers a particular hotel chain, guess what? We have some of the strongest partnerships in those areas, right? You name it, that's a particular one you like, there will be a co-brand that you can use, and you can really and truly be a loyal consumer based on where you are, where you live, and what you prefer to travel. If you then go forward and during the point of actual travel, again, how do we make it convenient for you? We make sure that you have what you need to go and make that travel easy and more convenient. For example, if you purchase your ticket on a Visa card, you get certain benefits. You get certain insurances with it. Right? If there's something goes wrong, a lot of times that's covered. If you lose your luggage, and this is an important one, if the luggage is lost, you actually, and I know how many times has that happened, right?
Yeah.
There's insurance against that. So there are all these bits and pieces where there are things that are built into it that you're able to go. And then at the actual destination, again, when you go, there are offers, there are things you can do. For example, I'll give you one example. Booking Bash is a partner of ours. Based on where you go, they will provide you with specific exclusive experiences, benefits at different rates, at different discounts, where you can go and say, hey, I want to go here. I want that ticket. It's not available generally, but I can get it through them. So we provide you with the ability to be able to get those. So again, depends on where you are in the journey. Doesn't matter. We want to make sure end to end you're covered. And that when you go, you can go with your Visa card or your Visa credential and know you will be taken care of.
A lot of people over here in the GCC region are using money to remit money back home, receive money to do transactions in the GCC region. How do you make it simple? Because the traditional model is cumbersome, has multiple steps involved in it, and is not always very quick.
Yes, I think that is a pain point. There is absolutely a lot of money, both within the GCC as well as externally, that is being transferred. A lot of it between people. We are working on some very interesting solutions for that space. That's pretty much all I'll say at this point. Just keep watching, keep looking, and there will be some interesting moves there.
Okay, thank you so much for this great conversation, Dr. Saeeda, and talking to Gulf Business.